Am I the a-hole for selling my family's property after they cut me out of the inheritance discussions? I am 34. I grew up in a small town outside of Asheville, North Carolina. My family owns a beautiful piece of land, 50 acres of rolling hills, wooded trails, and a small creek running through it. It's been in our family for generations. My grandparents built a modest farmhouse on the property, where they raised my dad George, 63 male, and his 2 siblings, Uncle Paul 61 male and Aunt Beth 58 female. Growing up, the property was the center of every family gathering, BBQs, holidays, reunions. It holds so many memories for all of us. When my grandparents passed away about a decade ago, the property was split evenly between my dad, Uncle Paul, and Aunt Beth. They didn't sell it. Instead, they agreed to keep it in the family and share the responsibilities of upkeep. My cousins and I always assumed it would be passed down to us one day. I never imagined I'd be cut out of the picture. For some context, I'm the only child of my parents. Uncle Paul and Aunt Beth each have 2 kids, so I grew up close to my cousins. We always talked about how cool it would be to inherit the property together and keep it as a place for our kids someday. But last year, my parents' health started to decline. My dad was diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's, and my mom Sylvia, 62 female, is dealing with chronic arthritis. They decided to move into a retirement community closer to the city, which meant selling their share of the property. I assumed I'd be included in the discussions about what would happen next. After all, I've always been vocal about wanting to keep the property in the family. I even offered to help financially if needed. But then things got weird. About 6 months ago, I noticed my family was being unusually cagey about the property. Whenever I brought it up, they'd change the subject or give vague answers like, "We're still figuring things out." I thought they were just taking their time to make a decision, but then my cousin Sarah, Paul's daughter, let something slip at a family dinner. "We were talking about dividing the property last week," she said casually, "and Dad thinks it makes sense for me and Jake to take over the north side." I blinked. "Wait, what? You're dividing the property? When was this decided?" Sarah's eyes widened, and she immediately clammed up. "Oh, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask Uncle Paul." I confronted my dad that night. "Why didn't you tell me they were discussing the property? I thought we were all part of this." He looked uncomfortable. "It's complicated, Lily. Paul and Beth have been handling most of the talks. I didn't think it was necessary to involve you." "Not necessary?" I said, stunned. "Dad, this property is part of our family. Don't I get a say?" He sighed. "I didn't want to stress you out. You're busy with work and your life in Charlotte. Besides, it's not like you live here anymore." "That doesn't mean I don't care," I snapped. "I grew up here, too. I've always wanted to keep this in the family." He just shrugged and said, "It's not personal, Lily. It's just easier this way." I felt completely blindsided. Over the next few weeks, I tried to get more information, but everyone either ignored my questions or gave me the runaround. Finally, I got fed up and called Uncle Paul directly. "Paul, I need to know what's going on with the property," I said. "Why wasn't I included in the discussions?" He was surprisingly blunt. "Look, Lily, you don't live here anymore. Sarah and Jake do. Beth's kids do. It makes sense to divide the land between the people who are still part of the community." "That's not fair," I said. "I'm still part of this family. Just because I moved doesn't mean I don't care about the property." "It's not about fairness," he said. "It's about practicality. You've got your life in Charlotte. What are you going to do with the land if we give you a piece of it? I could keep it, rent it, build a cabin, who knows?" I said. "That's not the point. The point is, I should have been included in the decision." He sighed. "I'm sorry you feel that way, but the decision's already been made." I was furious. My own family had cut me out of the inheritance discussions like I didn't even matter. But I wasn't going to roll over and let them walk all over me. My dad's share of the property still belonged to him, and I knew he wasn't thrilled about how things were playing out either. "Dad, I want to buy your share," I said one night while visiting him and Mom. "You don't have to sell it to Paul and Beth. I'll pay market value." He looked hesitant. "Lily, I don't want to cause more drama. Paul and Beth are already expecting to take over my share." "I don't care what they're expecting," I said. "This is my chance to keep part of the property in our family. Please, Dad. Let me do this." After a lot of back and forth, he finally agreed. I bought his share for a fair price, and for the first time in months, I felt like I had a little control over the situation. But then, things exploded. When Paul and Beth found out, they were livid. "How could you do this without telling us?" Beth said during a tense family meeting. "We had a plan." "Your plan didn't include me," I shot back. "Why should I honor a decision I wasn't part of?" Paul accused me of being selfish. "You're ruining everything. We were going to keep the property unified." "Oh, really?" I said. "Because Sarah told me you were dividing it between your kids. So don't act like I'm the one breaking up the family legacy." They didn't have much to say to that, but the tension was palpable. Fast forward to now. I've decided to sell my share of the property. As much as I love it, I can't deal with the toxic family dynamics anymore. The money will help me buy a house in Charlotte, and I'm ready to move on, but my family is furious. You're betraying us, Sarah said during a heated phone call. How could you sell it to strangers? You didn't want me to have a say when it came to the inheritance, I said. So why does it matter what I do with my share now? Now, the family is completely divided. Some think I'm justified, while others think I'm being petty and vindictive. I'm torn between feeling guilty and feeling like I finally stood up for myself.